NHL Power Play Live, taking you through the slate for tomorrow, Saturday, January 30th, the main slate. My name is Doug Shane at Bankster17, which you know because you're watching this right now on Twitter. Joining me, as always, Sean Goodwin, big number 55, the Goody, Joshua Hook, the Hook Monster at Hook Monster on Twitter. Gentlemen, welcome to the show and welcome to a full Saturday hockey slate. If you guys out there want to see what our gentlemen are doing, if you want to get access to our articles, access to our player pools, our Slack chat, the conversation that we have all the time about not just hockey, but every major sport, every niche sport, the college sports, join us on banksterdfs.com. $3.99 a week gets you access to everything that we do. We've been throwing out videos on top of this as well, which, we don't have guaranteed on there, but that's all on our YouTube page as well. Just look me up, Doug Shane, hit the like, share, subscribe, notification icon, let you know when we have videos, when we're going live. We go live every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern to talk about the Saturday slate, just to talk some puck. That's what we do. And, I made a mistake last week, and I want to make sure to correct the mistake as our congratulations to Jeff Kaminsky. He is not up for the 2019 FSWA award. Sean reminded me last week. He is the current reigning defending 2019 FSWA Soccer Writer of the Year, but he is nominated again this year, 2020 FSWA Soccer Writer of the Year nominee, and he's adding a 2020 FSWA Racing Writer of the Year nomination. We'll find that out, I think, in 2 weeks. Jeff's going to hopefully take home those two awards. And we have a ton of awards and nominations on staff. And you get access to Jeff as part of the membership that we talked about on the previous page, $3.99 a week at banksterdfs.com. And promo time's over. It is so nice to see you folks. Oh, one more thing I have to remind you. I will get to you, gentlemen, I promise. If you're joining us in the chat, please don't hesitate to drop a question. We will answer those live on the air to make sure that we help you with your lineups. Now, finally, Hook. Good. How are you guys doing? Happy Hockey Day. Welcome.
What's up? I'm doing great, man. Enjoying the mild temperature in Kansas City.
It's cold. It's cold in Canada. The hockey hotbed of Kansas City.
Oh yeah, I'm the only one. Like we said, I run a bar, so like I don't even like talking about hockey because people will try and talk to me like they know what they're talking about, and it's really inconvenient almost. Like I feel like I'm mean, and I'm like, nah, guys, just. No, it's at a different level. I know that the Blades were fun 20 years ago to go watch, but yeah.
That could be some good reality TV.
Other people might not know what they're talking about with NHL in good old Kansas City, home of the Super Bowl and maybe future Super Bowl champs. You guys know what you're talking about for NHL. And I was reminded prior to going live on the air because old Doug had a brain fart. I was teaching all day, and sometimes when I'm teaching 9-year-olds, I start to think like one. Totally forgot to have this game on there. And Hook was like, dude, make sure you add that Edmonton-Toronto game so we could talk about that. And we're going to talk about it right off the bat. A couple of big offenses, lots of great matchups in this game. I'll throw it to Hook since he reminded me of it. Who do we pick in this game? Where are we looking for the Toronto-Edmonton game tomorrow?
I'm going to talk about actually the play of the day. And we've been talking about Austin Matthews a lot. I know just in between chat and whatnot. And Austin Matthews is always a marquee play. But I'm talking about kind of I was doing some stat dive on him and how to uncover his actual best production. And if you look at Austin Matthews, I mean, he's an elite shot producer. We love shots. They're good floor with all the ceiling in the world, and they're kind of like self-dependent. So I really like to focus building my lineups around these types of guys. But Austin Matthews' shot rate, when they're on the road, a lot of teams have a little bit more ability with line matching to shut him down. So when the Maple Leafs play even strength, his shot rate goes from above 10 per 60 to about 6 per 60, which is terrible. Like that's an okay defenseman's rate. But when he gets on the power play, he goes all the way up to 16 per 60. I mean, granted, this is last year as well. So what it's saying is like they're leaving the Tavares line more open at even strength. And on power play, if you're going to play Austin Matthews, especially when we get into tournaments like tomorrow, because Edmonton, their defense isn't there, the most upside is taking Matthews with his power play. That's when he's in his best shot seat, and that's how he's been succeeding the last 2 years since they've acquired John Tavares. So it's about making the decision that has if he's going to have a good game, he's probably going to have to do something on the power play which that's the decision that will make you the most money. So when I'm looking at Matthews, especially in tournaments tomorrow, I really want to do, I'm just going to stack him with power play. People hate that, those like weird little correlations like power play. They don't feel like they get enough out of it, but they're playing with a man up. Like that's their best opportunity to score. So if they can get, a ceiling power play game where they get 5 power plays, the Toronto power play has been good. Yeah, and that's where I want Austin Matthews. Last night he wasn't doing anything until they got in the power play and he finally scored a goal. And that's what we want, especially with Cash. He'll be almost a building block for me. I can dive a little bit more, but he'll probably be the main guy in my Cash lineup tomorrow night, especially against the South Edmonton defense. And that's just kind of things I found diving in with Austin Matthews.
Not ironically, as I'm building the article for tomorrow that I'm writing, my number one cash core play is Austin Matthews, as a matter of fact. So we're definitely in alignment with that. And talking about the power play and the correlation, it's interesting you mentioned that, because as we go through towards the end of the show, when we talk about some GPP strategies and we talk about some cash building strategies and some trends we're noticing, we do talk about correlating via the power play. And how that can help lower your ownership, your collective ownership on those stacks. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because I do think people tend to avoid that. And that's something we do need to look for to gain us an edge. I know Sean's opened our eyes to that a lot over the last couple of years, and not being afraid to stack a power play and kind of looking past those even strength lines. Sean, is there anything that you're looking for in this game? I know as a Maple Leafs homer, but you don't ever pick as a homer. Like and when I say homer, I mean you're very knowledgeable about the team. I really don't think it's ever clouded your judgment on that. You may throw an extra buck into a Sean stack here and there, but you've never let our members down to the Maple Leafs. They weren't a good play. So I almost regret using the term homer, but a fan, someone, a knowledgeable person of this team. Where do you see this game headed? Who are we looking for in this game? Because it should be pretty high scoring, right?
It's okay. I'm okay with a homer. I'm a huge homer. I'm not going to lie. It's but I enjoy winning. I have stacked against the Leafs many, many times. The Boston Bruins have made me a lot of money in the playoffs against Toronto. So, hey, I'm a homer. I'll be the first to admit it, but I'm also going to direct you towards stacking against the Leafs when I think it's viable. And basically, my the article I did for Thursday night, for everyone who read it, I had Tavares, Nylander in there as a stack for basically the exact reason Hook alluded to. On the road, Austin Matthews is going to see the best of the other team. Top defensive pairs. Now Edmonton's defense is horrible, but they're going to see Nurse. He's going to see Nurse. He's going to see Bear, and he's going to see probably a lot of Connor. Connor drives a lot of the play, so it's a kind of a head-to-head matchup. And Sheldon Keefe, rightfully so, lets Matthews go head-to-head with Connor and Nurse, because it frees up the Tavares line to go up against the softer the rest of the Edmonton lineup, which is not good. I don't Draisaitl. I'm not afraid of anybody on that team. Austin Matthews, absolutely. They had 11 power plays. There was 11 power plays in the game on Thursday night. They called 11 penalty. Just a horrible game last night. The refs were brutal. The Oilers had 7 power plays, 7, and the Leafs had 4. If that happens again, it's like 7. There's each team's gonna get 5 or 6 power plays. You have to have part of this game. And as we've noticed so far, the power plays this year are up big time, and we need that power play correlation more so. And I like where Hook's thinking, right? Austin Matthews, Tavares, Marner, Riley stack or something like that. Nobody will have that. Nobody's gonna do that. And if you look at the top of some of these contests at the end of the day, you see these guys. They'll play a Crosby Malkin. They'll play a Connor. They'll play a McDavid Draisaitl in the same stack, because the upside is just ridiculous. And if the Leafs have the second best power play, like their power play is a weapon, right? That power play is ridiculous. And if they're going to get 5 or 6 shots at it, they're going to score 2 or 3 power play goals against Edmonton and Koskinen all day long. Love that. That's that game. Yeah, you want all kinds of that game. Absolutely. Any which way you want to go. First, second line, Matthews, Tavares, the same. It's and run it. With it's 11 game slate, run it back with Connor. I ran Connor back with Tavares on a couple of stacks on Thursday night, and Connor actually didn't have a Connor game because actually the Leafs have improved their defense. They're, people don't see this yet, but the Leafs actually are vastly improved in their end on defense, and people are not adjusting to that. Everyone's thinking they're stacking against the Toronto team from last year and the year before. Nah, not anymore. I'm telling you, Toronto's defense, like Toronto's playing really, really well. And I wouldn't go out of my way to stack Connor. I'm not touching Draisaitl. Like, basically, Connor, maybe Nurse on the Edmonton side, but I'm definitely leaning heavy to Toronto.
Can you explain to me? Clearly, I'm a hockey. I've been the hockey writer of the year, but so don't dive as deep into the stats sometimes as you do. And I surely haven't been watching as many years as you've been watching. Hey, listen, I got to throw that in at least once a show.
100%. I would have a badge.
I have it. You want me to get the trophy? Just kidding. I'm gonna put it behind me going forward. I look at a guy like Leon Draisaitl. Okay, as I'm researching tomorrow's article, and I'm looking here and I'm saying, I don't see why I wouldn't play him just because of his level of consistency, his ability to accumulate points through shots on goal, the shot on goal bonus, he goals, assists, and now you're saying you're not even going to touch Draisaitl. Why Draisaitl being the guy that you're not going to want to play? Connor's the guy you might want to look at, especially because Draisaitl's $900 cheaper. To me, he looked like someone that I was going to dive in on, and now hearing your take on this, I'm starting to have some pause on that. And so people listening might feel the same way. Could you get a little more deeply into why Draisaitl, who looks like Jim from The Office, by the way, if you could get into why Draisaitl's not a guy that you're going to touch tomorrow a little deeper? I understand you said that Toronto's defense is playing better, but what about the way that they're playing makes Draisaitl a worse play than someone like Connor?
So Draisaitl basically has trouble driving his own offense, driving his own line. He scored. Yeah. Did he score 2 goals against Toronto? Absolutely. Were they on the power play? Yes. He needs the power play because he's playing with Connor. He on his own is not going to get you the even strength. Now, what happens if tomorrow the Oilers don't have 7 power plays again? What if they get refs that actually are competent and there's only 1 or 2 power plays? I trust Connor to score at even strength way more than I do Draisaitl. At Draisaitl at $7,500, I think, what is he at? $7,500 tomorrow? $7,500 tomorrow. I'm pretty sure on an 11-game slate, I'm going to find, just looking at it right now, Scheifele at $7,300, Point at $7,200, Bergeron 77, Pavelski at 7, Barkov at there's no.
So you're just saying they're in better spots. They're just in better spots, and if what I'm hearing you then is if I could put it into NBA terms, because maybe we have some NHL novices listening, but maybe they play NBA. McDavid's more of a guy who's going to own shot as opposed to a spot up 3-point shooter who needs someone to feed him the ball. Is that kind of like what Draisaitl is? Is he more the guy who needs to be set up where Connor's the guy who's going to do it on his own?
Yeah, so Connor would be James Harden, and Draisaitl would be your Ray Allen. I don't know, lack of NBA guys. Ray
Allen works.
Spot up shooter.
Point. He's spot up shooter. He's going to sit in the corner and wait for that 3.
100%. I mean, it's not a coincidence that Draisaitl scored on the power play because Edmonton's power play was the best in the league last year. That's not an accident. They can roll out an amazing power play but that's all they have. And on his own with Cahoon and Yamamoto, I'm not feeling that at all. Now,
Connor clearly plays on a better line, right? With RNH playing near him. I mean, he's got a guy who can do more on that line than anything Draisaitl is going to play with other than on the power play. Does that make sense? Is that
100%? Connor is one of those guys that you can just lock and load, and 99 times out of 100, his floor is going to be 10, 15, and he's not going to kill you. Now it's high and stuff, but Connor, I would feel better about playing Connor than Draisaitl all day long. I don't expect Edmonton to get 7 power plays again tomorrow. I could be wrong. The NHL is in a weird zone place right now. There's power plays everywhere. So, who knows? Yeah. That's what we'll see.
Yeah, actually.
And now, Hook, I know you're a big leverage guy, and I always go to use the leverage guy. I always say it, and I'm going to keep saying it. And you're the one, again, who suggested the game. And I'm going to go on a limb and say that Matthews isn't the biggest leverage play. He's definitely more of the obvious play. Is there a guy out there from this game that you're looking at that is going to be a low-owned type of one-off play? Like, I look at a guy like Jason Spezza, who's had a point in 3 straight games, but he's not putting up a lot of ice time. He's doing it under 10 minutes of ice time. So I think people might see those 3 straight games of points and go, he's my leverage play, but he's not really, right? Who is a guy that we can look at on this team? Or maybe it is Spezza. I'm not sure.
Actually, here's Matthews will be massive chalk tomorrow, especially in cash. And I can, if there's not power plays tomorrow, Tavares is the better play. Like he just is. And sometimes it's kind of like sometimes how Draisaitl is in theory a leverage over McDavid, but they're not the same player. Like if I'm going to play Draisaitl in a lineup, I always play McDavid with him. Like I never play Draisaitl in cash. I put them together for leverage in a unique GPP tournament, playing the power play. Like we said, that's leverage. Like everyone has even strength 1 or even strength 2. But like if you do power play 1, and especially if line score or like you don't need every goal to be a perfect, you get all 3 points from it. Like if they score a couple even strengths, well, you might have got 2 pieces of exposure to that. That'll add up a score. So like if we take Tavares, who will probably have the better line match than Matthews, and again, even I'm not scared of anyone against Edmonton's defense. Like Tavares is a really nice play. Nylander with him is a good play. They're on the second power play. So if they and Matthews didn't look great. I mean, it's not they looked bad. They just like they really tried hard to shut him down. And Tavares, he's been a little cold the last couple of games, but he still shoots, and that's what we want. Like the thing about shots is we always talk about floor, but like when we go hunting for assists and whatnot, we're cutting our floor. But if we go to shots, we start with the 1.5 we get on every time they shoot, and then we have the ceiling for the 10. And that's what we want. We don't get that with passing and hoping the other guy shoots. Like that's just the most simple floor play there is in all of hockey. I mean, that's how I build all my lineups around, especially in cash. So and like Tavares, his shot rate last season with Austin Matthews at even strength was actually better, and on the power play he was worse, but they shared a line on the power play last season. And this year the power play has been so good that Tavares just hasn't had as much time on the power play because power play 1's killing it.
But you're going to play Tavares in cash, right? He's a GPP guy for you.
It depends how I feel. Yeah, right now I'm not. I get like, I was mad Thursday night because I wanted to play Tavares, and I like the way the rest of my lineup looked. But then it was kind of one of those. I know Matthews is going to be owned, and I don't want to let him beat me because he can. And I get worried in situations like. I mean, I still cashed, but I mean, my first take was way more right because I had like other pieces that worked better. So I didn't really think the 3-for-3 switch as well as I should have. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna play Tavares. Like I'll play Tavares even strength, and I'll play Tavares power play. And then you get some of those Toronto depth lines in both those power plays that will be that you don't want to put. I don't really want to dedicate a full stack to. But I'll get I'll get exposure a little bit to Austin Matthews because Zach Hyman's been on that second power play, and they're setting him back on the dot, and he's just shooting when he gets it. So that second power play scores, I get a little exposure to Matthews, but I get the Hyman points, and I don't have Matthews in it, so I'm okay. And so, yeah, it's just a little different. You get all the Toronto offense exposure to all of it if you do power play too. Or the Tavares time, you get a good exposure. So,
and again, you look at the stats this year. I mean, it all correlates to what you're saying. Toronto, third best power play in the league. Edmonton, not very good on the PK, and just in general, giving up a ton of goals. We comfortable moving on to the next game, gentlemen?
Yep.
I don't remember what I have on there. Maybe it's the game that I'm going to put that pisses you guys off. It is not. That's the game after this. Dallas. I've been all over Dallas, outside from the first game. But once I saw what they did in their first game, and then I've been kind of rolling them this year. They've popped me a couple of GPPs, baby GPPs, but GPPs nonetheless. Small sample size. I love small sample sizes because small sample sizes are just the beginning of large sample sizes. They're number 1 in the league in the power play, number 1 in goals per game, number 1 in shooting percentage. They're super efficient. Putting up a ton of shots, or not putting up a ton of shots, but they're making those shots go in. And I know we like volume, so I do have some concern there. Last night I went into the Slack chat and just said, yeah, I'm just going to write Dallas. I'm just going to say hashtag just play Dallas, and there's my article. Like, it's super easy. But Carolina's got a pretty good defense. But that power play 1 of Pavelski and Gurianov and Heiskanen and Klingberg, I mean, you combine that, the team has played 4 games, so that's 16 combined games. They've scored 10 or more DK points combined in 12 of those 16 opportunities with 9 goals and 18 assists. That's almost 7 combined goals and assists per game over 4 games. That's a lot. Is this a team, and is this a game, Sean? Is this one that we should be looking to stack, or is this an avoid type of situation because Carolina's defense is legitimate? You know I've been sort of enamored with Dallas. That Gurianov line is just the power play one, and it really goes back to that power play line. We're pulling from all these other lines, but they put it all together in their power play, and they've been doing so well. Is that fluky? Is that going to go away? What are your thoughts on that?
So I guess to sort of play a little devil's advocate here, I guess my concern with this game is Dallas has started the season against Detroit and Nashville. So they played Detroit. What did they play? Detroit twice, and they've played Nashville twice. Detroit is exactly what Detroit is. Nothing's changed this year. Detroit's not good, and Nashville, surprisingly enough, is not actually, but is not very good either. Like they have been so far, they've done nothing. They're not generating anything at all. And then on the other side, Carolina. Who's Carolina played? Well, Carolina has played, right? Carolina has played Detroit and Nashville, and then against Tampa Bay, and they lost 1-0 to Tampa Bay because of the long layoff. So, is Dallas for real, or is Carolina like? It's a weird game. Like it's a weird game because the sample size is really small. I mean, hey,
does that make the game then more of a GPP only kind of a look? Because right now I've got Klingberg. I've got Klingberg as a guy that I'm looking to use. I've got Pavelski's stats up, but I'm looking to use Klingberg as a cash game option for me. I feel like despite the lack of quality opponent they've played, he's always done quite a bit anyway as the point man on the Dallas power play. This is not just a 1-year anomaly, but I mean he's putting up a decent amount of shots and he's getting points. Or is this fluky in a respect? A lot of his points have come from goals and assists as opposed to SABs, which are shots and block shots.
So
is he maybe not a cash game option then?
No, I mean, I think he's priced too low. I mean, here's the thing. I'm the guy who just recommended playing Gurianov, Heiskanen, and Klingberg as a stack. Literally, I recommended that stack last night. So you don't have to.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, it actually worked out rather well.
Won me a GPP. So
yeah, absolutely.
Great.
First place in Yahoo, baby. Absolutely, right? So I mean, this is going to be a very interesting game for me. I mean, it could 1-0. It could be 7-6, right? Like these two teams playing each other is going to be sort of the telling point of okay, whose early season sample size was a little more accurate, maybe, right? But Klingberg and Heiskanen, all right, are basically the Nashville version of Yossi and Ellis. They drive that offense, and Gurianov and Pavelski. My God, Pavelski is just scorching hot. So I mean, Klingberg is going to do a little bit of everything. They play him and Heiskanen are basically dominate the minutes, right? They both play usually upwards of 25 minutes a game. I don't think you can go wrong, really. My concern is the way Carolina drive. Like I mean, they drive the play a lot. They take a lot of shots. This is going to be an interesting game. I mean, at this point, I'm not. I mean, Klingberg at 5,600. I mean, Klingberg's a $6,500 defenseman. Heiskanen, when he's going, is a $7,000 defenseman. Like he's up there with like in the playoffs last year. Heiskanen was on another level. So Dallas' schedule has been a mishmash to start. So they haven't really found a groove yet. But Carolina's schedule has been a mishmash. So like Klingberg and Cash, I'm on board with that. I mean, Gurianov. Same thing with him, right? Like he's $5,900. That kid's legit. That kid's ridiculous. So I mean, against Carolina tomorrow, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm going to watch that one with. I'm looking forward to that game actually to see what early.
I don't see myself going too deep with this game in terms of cash. Like to me, I'm going to stick with Klingberg on that. Like obviously, I will have a power play. The power play one, I will have that in GPPs because why wouldn't you at this point? But it sounds to me what you're saying is let's not get too deep with this game because this game could be really a good information building game because we see kind of how the teams play. They're both legitimate opponents for each other, and they're going to play a lot this year too. But this could be the kind of game where we see what these teams really are. Is the Carolina defense really that good? Is the Dallas offense really that good? I still I do agree with you. I really like Klingberg because he's always been a good player and he is underpriced, I believe. I'm not sure I can stack him with Gurianov and Cash, but I will definitely run them both in GPP. They've just been too damn hot to play.
One last. I mean, for me, the key tomorrow for Dallas for me is Hintz. If Hintz plays tomorrow, and I think he's day to day, and I think he's trending towards playing. I'll have to confirm. We'll confirm that tomorrow. If Hintz goes, then I will definitely run I'll have some GP. I'll run a GPP. Hintz, Gurianov, Heiskanen or Klingberg, do a 3-man version of, right? Probably go Heiskanen because he's cheaper in a GPP. But I would definitely not do a combo stack in cash. I would definitely run Klingberg out solo. Don't pair him with Gurianov in cash tomorrow, just because there's just too many what ifs for me for cash.
Hook, what's your take on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna stack it. The only person like on my radar in this is I think Gurianov might be cash viable if Hintz plays with him, because I think he really needs his Hintz speed. Like I think Dickinson at center for him, I think it lowers his upside a little bit. But he's been shooting a ton and he's scoring, and that's playing. He's only had Hintz one game. The problem with Dallas to me is and this is why I think Carolina could play D. They have some nice D pairs. Mrazek and Reamer are both. They're what I call. We've talked about goalie tandems as opposed to like having a starter and a backup. It's a very solid goalie tandem. You can't really take a goalie here though, because Dallas is a team that I like to call it where they look for a good shot more than they're not a volume based team when it comes to shooting. So just they can have 19 shots and score 3 goals and your goalie's dead. I mean, he's just done. I do have interest in the Khudobin side because Carolina does shoot, and Khudobin I think is actually really good. I think I don't know if he's going to hit the cash goal, but he might be a GPP type. But like Sean said, I think this is going to be a low scoring hockey game. Like I really do. I think it's going to be like 2-1. I mean, I could see 7-6 happening. That means Khudobin has a terrible day. Same with whoever is starting for Carolina. But I lean like I'm also one of those people who's more likely to go overweight on 2 spots for an evening than try and get all my stacks in. Just my mindset. But because I don't think every situation is created equal. But yeah, I mean, I think I want the goalie for Dallas and maybe Gurianov in cash. Like, I want Hintz back for Gurianov's ceiling to hit for cash if I go there. Hintz is if they're the same price, I'm going to take Gurianov because he's a shooter. That's generally. I mean, Hintz can score, but I feel like it's more likely to go to Gurianov. But yeah, I don't have a ton of interest personally in this game.
I've just been on that kick with Dallas. I don't know. I'm enamored with the way they've been playing lately. They are priced up though from where they started the year, so that's going to bring some of the love down. I like what they defensively and again, Klingberg to me is just I had to click the down button to get to his price. I just think he's better than that. And I'm trying to find some value for a higher end play on defense, and I'm not in love with the upper end defenders on the slate so much, and he was the guy that I looked at that I drew my attention to, but haven't locked him into the article yet. Just he's within the conversation of where I'm thinking. Let's move forward to the next game. This is the one where I'm gonna it's my favorite narrative of the whole slate. Boston, Pasta's back. We'll talk about him in a minute. I'm not worried about that. I'm taking a look here at Boston's power play, 4th in the league. Not the narrative I'm going for. Washington's PK. They're in the bottom third of the league. Okay, so good power play, not a great penalty kill for Washington, but Boston, number 1 in the league in face-off percentage. Here's my narrative, boys. Washington, number 27 in the league. There is a large disparity between Boston's face-off win percentage and Washington's face-off win percentage, and to me, that just means extra potential for offensive possessions in the zone. So for me, that tells me that if there's a face-off in the Washington zone, there is a 3-2 chance that Boston's going to take that. One of the biggest discrepancies in the league. Boston's going to win that face-off, which provides them with an extra possession. If they're doing it on the power play, their power play is really good. Washington's penalty kill is really bad, and Pasternak is back. Like, to me, extra possessions, volume leads to points. I just think that's a chance for Washington to really put up to really overpower Washington on the power play. Am I insane, Hook? Is this going too deep? Am I going too far down the rabbit hole? Because I saw both of your eyes get so big when you saw face-off percentage on the board there. But like,
I loved it though.
It's got to be something for face-off percentage, right?
Okay, like Patrice Bergeron is. Like, he doesn't get, like, the love of McDavid in him because he has a different game, but he is maybe one of the most fundamentally sound hockey players in the world. I love Patrice Bergeron. the way this team plays, they're not a volume again team. Like they generally drive the puck to Pasternak. Like Cash Pasternak's your guy. Their power play is elite. They were number 1 last year in the power play as well. Washington has never been afraid of taking a bad penalty. Do we get the COVID 4 back tomorrow or no?
I was trying to dig into that and I did not see that. Sean, are you aware if the COVID crew comes back or not? I was looking at it as if they weren't. I'm also to throw it to you because I'm not sure if you're ready to, as I said in the private chat between all of us, that you're going to fly to Vegas to murder me for looking at face-off percentage, because I'm fairly confident I talked to you about this last year and you thought it was a dumb idea. But I do want to know if you know anything about the Washington COVID crew.
They were mandatory minimum 4 games. I'm looking for it right now. I don't think I'm gonna find this out right now because
I thought they had one more.
I think
I
feel like
they through this coming weekend, but I could be.
I'll find it right now. They've missed 4 games. They are scheduled to return tomorrow. If they clear the protocol, they should be back tomorrow. Let's see. The last game was on the 19th against Pittsburgh, and the Caps have played 4 games since. So what is that? Yeah. 10 days? I don't think that's right either, because I think the protocol is 14 days. I think it's literally 2 weeks, but we have to confirm that. They've missed 4 games, which was the original prognosis.
We'll definitely bring it up in the Slack chat before we do anything with our lineups tomorrow. I still believe
that's some big information. Like that's how, if the Caps get Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, and they didn't practice today. Yeah, well, that's something that we'll definitely have to look at, because that's big news, right? Like that's key.
And they also have Justin Schultz, who is a little banged up, right? And he's been playing hot. So also something else we got to keep an eye on. A lot of news for Washington that we don't have quite yet. I included this because I had to talk about Pasta, but I had to find another narrative other than Pasta. And extra possessions. It's got to be. Sean, what's your take on that? I got to know, because I keep looking at you and I feel like there's this rage inside of you, and I got to know.
No, God, no. I mean, Bergeron is the best face-off man in the league, and it's not close. If I'm in Game 7 of the Cup final and I need a face-off win, he's my guy. 100 times out of 100. So Pasta being back, I mean, the NHL, power plays are up all over the league this year. I don't know, whatever it is, the NHL has decided to tell the refs to call everything. Ticky-tack, penalties galore. If Boston's going to get 4 or 5 power plays tomorrow, they're going to score 2 or 3. I would be willing to bet. And get in a power play, if you're in the offensive zone, if you're starting with the puck every single time, that's going to lead to goals. It's going to lead to opportunities. It's going to lead to shots. And Washington is defensively is not that great. Samsonov and the new kid there, what's his name? I haven't had to say it. Vanacek. I haven't had to say it yet because I haven't used him. I haven't even written his name yet. I doubt I'll be using him tomorrow either, especially against Boston with Pasta back.
3.1 goals again in the last 5 games. Not been particularly wonderful.
No. The key for me for that game tomorrow is if Orlov and Schultz and if those boys are all out for one more game, I'm rolling Boston 100% for sure in a stack tomorrow.
Is Nick Ritchie still viable with because he's been great. 10 DK points.
He won't be on the power play anymore. He's gone.
He will not be. They're going to pull him.
Passes back now. So he'll bump down to power play 2, but he's
kind of a whole different ball game there. How you're not playing with Marchand and Bergeron? No chance that they pull Krejci down to the second power play. He's always skating out
and leave Ritchie.
Yeah, I know they've always had him up on the first power play, like he was there last year and whatever. But Ritchie's playing outstanding hockey right now. It wouldn't it make more sense to keep him up? And again, I obviously can't convince anyone. I have no direct line to the coach, but
we don't. Yeah, no.
If he's still on that line, is he viable? How about that?
100%.
If he's projected to skate on that first power play, is he still viable at $3,800?
Oh, lock and load. If it's even more so with Pasta back, because now you're replacing Pasta with replacing Krejci with Pasta, and if Richie's going to be up top Again, at $3,800, that's all day long, right? And you know what? And it is possible that now. I mean, last year it was number one, and Krejci and Krug was on the point last year. Now it's Grels. I can't even say his name either. Grzelcyk was hurt last game, so Charlie McAvoy, I'm assuming, is going to replace him on the point. It'll be interesting. Like that game is going to be that game. It'll be key tomorrow for us. Morning skate and information that we can get from this game. But if Richie's on power play one, $3,800, lock and load. He's a great one-off, and he's. I mean, geez, we've been using him pretty much since the start of the season. So lock and load at $3,800 for Nick Ritchie if he's still on that power play.
And again, that's where I will promote the Bankster DFS Slack chat, our NHL Slack chat page, which is part of our $3.99 a week membership, which covers everything, but the NHL Slack chat's there. And we will give you that late breaking line changes and the goalie changes and all that good stuff. And I know we will all be sitting in that room, kind of waiting to provide you guys with the information needed as it breaks. Like we're playing pasta if we can. Like, I might not run them in cash right away, but like we are getting Boston exposure tomorrow. Even if the COVID crew comes back for Washington, like you're not going to completely fade Boston with pasta coming back, right?
No, that's Boston one is still going to be on the radar. I mean, pasta, it's a hockey player, right? Like it's not like he won't need much. A couple shifts, one period, he'll be back right in the flow. Like I'm not worried about that.
Yeah,
I would feel better if Orlov and Schultz and those guys miss. Then I might, overload it, but I will still have a stack probably either way.
I mean, Bergeron and March.
The thing about Boston,
31 shots in 4 games without Pasta. They've been playing great without him. Everyone thought it would slow him down, and it did for a couple of games. But they found their footing to the last 4 games.
So one thing I will say just before Huck, just what I want to say is because Pasta was out, Bergeron was shooting more. So now that's going to flip. That'll probably flip now. So maybe Bergeron is not so much cash viable maybe as he was, right? Because he's going to go defer back to, because Pasta was the trigger man on the power play, even strength, big time. Bergeron's like the Marner setup in Toronto. Like you don't play Marner alone. You never play Marner as a one-off. You always play Marner with Matthews or Tavares or whatever. Tomorrow, like I won't play Bergeron alone tomorrow. Bergeron will be part of a stack. I could play Pasternak as a one-off because he's a trigger man, right? Like he's the Matthews version of that offense. We can play Matthews naked all day long. We can play Pasta naked all day long. But what you cannot do is you can't play Marner by himself, and I would never play Bergeron by himself with Pasta back. I have played Bergeron by himself at the start of the season in cash because he's been shooting because he has to.
Pasta's too cheap at $7,800, by the way, too. $7,800 is too little. He's an $8,500 guy, and he's too cheap. Yeah, Hook, sure. You've sat patiently. We both have cut you off a number of times. I know you've got some good points for this game. What do you got?
Yes, I was just cut off. Sean said exactly what I was going to say.
Fine. Sorry.
I've been waiting 2 weeks to say that, Sean. No, but it's kind of like in football. Like we go to Pasta because he's kind of like Devontae Adams. We know it's guaranteed production. Bergeron and Marchand never hit my cash lineups. They just don't. They might get 2 points, but Pasta probably got the 2 goals. And if they're priced the same, I'm playing Pasta. It's never a question mark. Like if I want exposure to Boston in any form, it's always David Pastrnak. Richie's fine. Smith maybe a little bit, but they have always built their scoring around Boston 1, 2, 3, and 4 defend. They occasionally have a big game, but I don't. If that happens, that's just variance. I don't care. That's about it. Washington side, I think Carlson is still interesting. If they're out tomorrow, if the 4 are out, the offense drives through him, and he has a really high floor and some ceiling. Boston's been a little off, but they get Pasta back tomorrow, so that's going to change. Boston is probably the best team out east this year. And yeah, I'm just, like I said, Pasta for cash. If you want to do the full line, go for it in GPP. But I'll be weighing Pasta heavy tomorrow. Carlson,
I will say, if you want to play Pasta with Matthews and cash, there is more than enough value on this slate to make that happen. There's more than enough cash viable plays, especially at the mid to low 3K range for defenders that can get you that floor that you're looking for. As I've been digging into the slate, there's a lot of low to mid 3K defenders. You can spend up at the other positions. Like I said earlier when we were talking about the Dallas game, you don't have to spend up today on defense or for the slate, I don't think. You don't have to use Klingberg necessarily. And again, that's why I said I'm still building, because if I find that I want to use Pasta and Matthews, I'm going to probably change that to a lower price defender. There's a lot of them, Dobson and Ben and there's other guys at that range that are Sabs guys that are just hidden Sabs guys that are just going to get you that floor that you need. And if they happen to get an assist or a goal, it's just gravy, but they'll get you your floor. Yeah. Let's move on to the next game. A couple more to cover here. This is one that Sean had mentioned 2 nights ago when I started talking about the Saturday. So he goes, there's a real easy game on this one. Got to have Vancouver, Winnipeg. That Winnipeg 2 line, along with Lowry, that's just one of the hottest groups in the NHL. As you can see, 31 points, 14 goals, 17 assists combined over the last 5 games. Winnipeg's just putting up so many goals, 4 goals a game, and you can see it on the screen. What I love is that they've got that 12% shooting percentage on 33 shots a game. That's really efficient, but it's also high volume. When you combine, like Dallas doesn't have as much volume, but they're super efficient. But you get a team like Winnipeg who's both high volume and efficient. There's just opportunities for points there. It's so much of it. And Winnipeg at Vancouver, they're in their 11th game already of the season. Winnipeg, I think, is playing their 8th game maybe tomorrow. Like Vancouver at some point's got to be dealing with tired legs. They're giving up a ton of goals, giving up a ton of shots on goal. I just think the volume is going to be there in this game. Sean, you had mentioned this game a couple days ago, and you've been all over Winnipeg too. So I'm gonna let you talk about them, and then we'll go to Hook as well.
Stack Winnipeg, a lot. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I mean, Ottawa had a ton of chances. Ottawa can't finish. Ottawa has got no finish. Hook mentioned Ottawa is Carolina light essentially with no finish. They put up 20 something shots, I think, in the second game of that series against Vancouver. And I mean, they scored 1 goal. Winnipeg is not going to have that problem. Winnipeg finishes, as Doug, you alluded to it. Vancouver or Winnipeg too. I don't know what DraftKings is watching, but Ehlers at $5,900. Cop is at $4,300. Stastny is at $4,400. And I can throw Morrissey at $4,600 or Pionk at $4,200 in on that stack, which allows you to get 2 or 3 pieces from the Boston 1 stack. Is that a GPP winning that seems like a GPP winning lineup to me. Like, I mean,
pretty good.
Winnipeg could throw up 8 goals tomorrow, and it wouldn't surprise me. Like, I mean, Vancouver is horrific. The one thing about the Canadian division is basically at this point we've established what's going to happen. Toronto, Montreal are the top 2 teams. They've sort of separated themselves as the top 2 teams. Then you have that little middle pack of like Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver. You know, Ottawa's Ottawa. Ottawa's now Ottawa that we've seen. But Winnipeg is going to score a ton. I mean, Winnipeg can give up a ton. But honestly, I think Winnipeg just absolutely smashes Vancouver tomorrow. I'm definitely going to run a Winnipeg 1 and a Winnipeg 2 stack for sure. And we'll run Morrissey and Pionk on that. Let me just check on the power play here. What are they? I'm sure they had a practice today. Yes, they did. So we got Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, Stastny, Morrissey, and then Ehlers, Kopp, Pionk. Yeah. So I'm going to be running a couple of versions of the Jets. Like this is a no-brainer. This one is just you need Winnipeg tomorrow exposure for sure.
I've been going back and forth for my third cash core play, since we do have our 3 stars of the game cash core, and we've got Matthews. I'm looking at Klingberg unless I want to spend down at that defensive position, but for that third position, I was looking maybe a little bit at one of the Florida cheap wingers, but I just keep coming back to this Winnipeg game. Right now, I've got Ehlers in there for the third piece of our cash game lineup because I think he's way too cheap at $5,900. I was going to ask if Andrew Kopp would be a better option in your guys' mind, but Hook almost got out of his chair for that. I just think we talked last week about one of our main objectives in cash is to find pricing discrepancies, find players who are underpriced and use those guys. To me, Ehlers is ridiculously underpriced right now. I'm going to let you talk about that real quick, why you celebrated Ehlers as a cash game play. And then if there's any other take that you have on this game as well, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So sorry, I did not mean to be so excited when you said Eilers. Like I was like, oh man, you took the Winnipeg 2 guy. Like,
Hold on.
It made me feel really good. It made me feel awesome.
One thing. It's Ehlers. Nikolai Ehlers.
I'm speaking Kansas City. No, just kidding. Okay.
It's Ehlers.
It's Eilers for us.
It's Eilers.
Have your Eilers. Go ahead. Take your Eilers. Go ahead. Have your Eilers.
I will defer to the Canadian. Ehlers is Ehlers. Why did we celebrate Ehlers? You made me feel very good. As we tell my students when they do something well, you filled my bucket. You made me feel good, like I did something right. What did I?
Okay, so let's talk about like Winnipeg found. Well, we'll talk about Ehlers. Now I'm just confused. Which one am I supposed to call him? Ehlers? It'll probably be
just messing. Go for it.
Well, I'll call him Nikolaj. But
oh man, I need a drink. I need a beer.
Oh yeah, drinking the coffee right here, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he had the highest shot rate on the team not named Patrick Laine last season. He shoots about 4 shots on goal per game. And if you look foundationally at how Winnipeg's lines 1 and 2 are, I'm so on tilt from the Ehlers conversation. Ehlers has been he's kind of taken over the line A role, which is different than the line 1 wingers. They work more in correlation together, whereas line 2, they're willing to feed it to him, and he is just going to pepper the net. I've played him in every, except the last game, I played him in every catch light he's been on so far this season. He's been too cheap. He's going to get more opportunity now that Line A is gone because he can take the point on that second power play, and he's just going to load up on shots. Tons of ceiling, tons of floor. Take it while it's cheap. He's going to be a $7,000 plus player by the end of this season. That's why I like him. He just guaranteed volume, and that's what I want in cash games.
$7K today. He is way underpriced.
Yes, absolutely. And Vancouver, there's not a shutdown line for Vancouver. I'm not worried about any of them. So I mean. But generally, when I play Winnipeg 1, I want all 3 of them because they're not a heavy volume shooting. They look for really excellent shots. Whereas Winnipeg 2, they're trying to get the puck to Eilers, and he's going to shoot. And that's what I want. So, yes,
do you think
that's where
that
I want.
Vancouver can keep this competitive at all? Do you think they could put up – because, I mean, that Vancouver line, Messer and Pedersen and Miller, Hughes, they've been – it's only been a couple of games, but they've been kind of hot. Are they going to get to Hellebuck or Hellebuck, Hellebucky?
Hellebuck.
I know Hellebuck. I just wanted to see if I could really push the buttons today. Are you going to get any past him, or is he going to be more of the goalie one of the goalies we're going to look at in this slate?
So I am never been a huge fan of Hellebuck. I mean, he won the Vezina last year, but he has epic moments where he fails, and the Winnipeg defense isn't good. Like Hellebuck's all they got. Like I mean, he is the last line of defense. If he is not on his A game, he can lose. He can give up 3 to 4 goals because I mean, in GPPs we basically want to find teams that we think can score 4 goals. Like that's the idea. So yeah, I think especially because people will be on the Winnipeg side of this, going with, and this is another one I like doing the Vancouver. I call it the onslaught. Like basically power 1 is 2 pieces of line 1 and 2 pieces of line 2. So I get exposure to way more minutes of the game when they score. And I'll get pieces. If they put up 4 goals, I got a lot of pieces of it. I guarantee it. And yeah, I will definitely have action on Vancouver tomorrow night.
Yeah, so maybe it's time for Vancouver to turn it around. Maybe it's time for Pedersen to get his butt in gear, and he has. I mean, he's definitely turned his game around pretty much since we must have motivated him last week. He got 3 goals, 2 assists since last time we talked about him. Sean, I know you'd stepped aside to grab a drink. Is he? Are we into the Vancouver side at all? I know you said Winnipeg's going to smash him, but like, can Vancouver put up 3 goals, 4 goals?
Sure they can. So basically, Hellebuck won the Vezina last year because of that horrific defense that Winnipeg has, because he had to face 35 shots a game, and he was lights out last year. But like Hook said, he still had those games where he got blown up. He'll give up 5, 6, 7, get pulled, yanked, whatever. Winnipeg's defense is worse this year than it was last year. It's like Gibson and Anaheim, right? Like Arizona yesterday was at one point was 25-8, I think it was, for shots, right? Same last year, I played a ton of Gibson early in the season because of this reason, and then eventually Gibson got burned out and started letting in goals, and we faded. Right? Hellebuck is sort of the same idea. I love Hellebuck in a GPP tomorrow because he'll face a ton of shots. But I also like Vancouver on the Vancouver side because they're going to get a ton of shots. And if Vancouver's power play can get opportunities, right? Winnipeg's penalty killing, I believe, has not been. Let me just bring it up here. Yeah, Winnipeg's where is it here? Winnipeg's got the third worst penalty killing unit in the league, right? And you know what that is? That's goaltending, right? Your goaltender can cover up a lot, right? Now Vancouver's power play has not been good. I think they're like lower end, but against Ottawa, maybe they're starting to get going. Nobody will have Vancouver, right? Everybody will be on Winnipeg. Hopefully not. Hopefully it'll just be us. Shh, don't tell anybody. But I love the Vancouver side.
I'll live stream on YouTube and Twitter. Definitely don't do that.
So Quinn Hughes, right? For me, Quinn Hughes is a great cash play tomorrow, right? Quinn Hughes is going to get a ton of shots. What have we got him at? Quinn Hughes is at $5,700, right? Edler, Tyler Myers, maybe Nate Schmidt.
Should we be worried at all that Hughes didn't take a shot in he's had one combined sab in the last two games, and that was against Ottawa, who's actually terrible defense, but he's also got 10 assists on the year. I just looked at Hughes, and I try to look past the goals and assists. I really do, particularly for defenders, and I saw one sab over two games, and it worried me. You're not concerned about that?
I'm not concerned about it just because Vancouver still runs the offense to him. So he's like John Carlson has been like the last little bit, right? Power play and stuff. Quinn Hughes is still getting the puck, right? So they get a bunch of power. So he had the 2 assists. Now, is the ideal? Now, for his price, you want to see those shots like last year, right? So, I mean, he might be more of a GPP play at this point until he kind of reverts back. I think Vancouver has just been trying to find their feet, their rhythm, so to speak, right? I mean, nothing like a 3-game series against Ottawa. Now, and the other thing I'm concerned about is because of 3-game series against Ottawa. Ottawa is, their defense is probably the worst in the league. Winnipeg's right there, but how much of this was Ottawa and how much of this was Vancouver? That's right. Right now, I mean, Winnipeg's defense is bad, but Hellebuck is better than Matt Murray, right? So, I mean, it's, I'm not going to go overweight to get exposure to Vancouver. Vancouver would be like my secondary combo stack in with like a Boston stack, right? Maybe a Horvat Pearson or a Horvat Edler or whatever the scenario might be as like a secondary combo. They're not going to be my first stack in by any stretch of imagination.
See, for me, I was talking about maybe spending down a little bit on defense for our core defensive player. And if I'm not going to use Klingberg as my core defensive player in cash, I really looked at Jordy Ben. And I got to give credit to you. I think it was Sean who brought it up the other day that Ben he's played 4 games this year, and he has 3 block shots, which is all you need in order to get the bonus on DraftKings. He's got that every single game so far this year. He's also taken a shot in 3 of the 4 games and 2 shots in 2 of the 4 games. And he's going up against, as we said, a Winnipeg team that shoots the puck a ton. High volume means more opportunity for block shots. We also know Ottawa shoots the puck a lot, and he took advantage of that by getting the block shots. Am I completely off base here, or is Jordy Ben at $3,400? That is not an expensive price. You're talking almost 6-7 points just from if he gets 3 block shots and nothing else. You're talking 6-7 points. Anything he gets above that really puts us at almost a near 3x type of a return at $3,400. Is this a guy we can use in cash games as one of our core defensive players?
Jordy Ben was one of my 3 stars yesterday on Cash Score.
Yeah,
he put up 10, and he put up 10 points, and he put up 9.9 points. He did exactly what I said he was going to do for the exact reason why, because he plays at even strength with the Pettersson line. The Pettersson line plays no defense. He might put up 5 or 6 blocks tomorrow because Winnipeg is not Ottawa. Winnipeg's going to shoot. Well, I mean, Ottawa shot a ton. Winnipeg's going to shoot a ton. Same idea. His price jumped a little. Jumped I think $500 or $600.
But I think he's the kind of guy who can also unlock a Matthews.
I'm with you on that, Dougie.
Kind of a lineup, right? Right. That's what he does. It's not just what he does; it's what he allows the rest of your lineup to do. It's something I talked about a lot during the football season. It's not taking the $2,500 Hunter Bryant or Harrison Bryant tight end play that he was going to be so great, and he was the week we used him, which was fantastic. But it was if he can just get you to that 8-point level, right? We didn't need 20 points out of him. If he had 8 points. But it opened up the ability to use Alvin Kamara and Devontae Adams. It's that combination of players was higher. Well, taking a guy like Jordy Ben can open up an extra wing for you to use. Then I think that's where it becomes a real strong play. Like obviously, Klingberg's a better defender than Ben for fantasy purposes. He has a much higher upside, but he's also going to cost you over $2,000 more. I can improve my offense a lot more by going down to Ben, who shouldn't kill you and has the right matchup to do it. So, and again, I'm explaining this more to people listening. Sean's looking at me like, yeah, dude, I know. But it's like, there are people who know. And I think that when we really put together our lineups, we have to consider these value plays. It's not just this value play is going to go off for 40 points. Like Jordy Ben's not scoring 3 goals tomorrow, but he's got this floor of about 7 points for you, but with an upside of 10, 12 points, which is a great return. We want about 2.2 to 2.5x on our players to hit cash. Even 2x will get you there if your goalie can get you a good 2x. So, we're shooting for that 100 total points. A guy like Jordy Ben should get there to that 6.8 points just by blocking those 3 shots. So I love what he can do for a lineup. So he's a guy in Vancouver that I'm really looking at, even if I like Winnipeg. He's a cash.
10 point. He got us 10 points yesterday at $2,800. That's you'll take that all day long. Lock and load.
Yeah, 34 is free.
What's that?
Yeah, 3,400 is free, especially if he's on the first line again. I mean, great exposure to an assist. I mean, again, you want to pay for shot ceiling, like RNH is 7,000 for Edmonton, but McDavid's the better play for 1,500 more. Well, if McDavid, if Edmonton scores 3 goals on that line, they're coming from McDavid probably, and that's just a huge disparity. Like that price is too close for 2 totally different players and their floor and ceiling combos. So punt down for the one cheap spot to get up from your assist guy to the shooter. It's worth it. The ceiling is worth it more days than it's not. And in the high dollar double ups I've been seeing too, that's more people are doing. You're seeing more McDavid and Matthews combos and the studs, the shooters, the guys who score. That's what I'm seeing more of. And those are the lineups that are winning. I mean, the high dollar, I think even just the 10 on Tuesday was 20 point higher to cash than the $5 double up. That's crazy. Wow. I've never seen that. That's insane though. But I'm seeing what they're doing. I study the lineups. That's what they're doing. And I generally follow, follow the money, see what they're doing. And they're paying up for shooters like that. So
speaking of shooters, see how I rolled into that. Florida should put up some shots. I'm trying with those transitions. And I'm sorry, Troy, but we're gonna go back. We're gonna pick on Detroit again. Troy Rapson, resident Detroit fan, but it's like we do this every day, every week, every slate, every sport, every game. But Detroit just is putting out bad sports ball teams, right? They're just not, and we just go after them. Florida won, man. You've got an opportunity to get a guy like Barkov and Duclair, and I can't even pronounce the guy's name. Verhaeghe. What is it?
Carter Verhaeghe.
Ekblad at Yandel. I mean, these guys are they're giving you access to both power plays. They're the first unit. They've been putting up crazy points, but then you've got the opportunity to use a guy like Hornquist at $4,800. He's got 10 DK points in every single game for under $5K. He shoots a ton too. And Detroit's terrible. You see all the stats on the side. Detroit allows a ton of points. They have great power, terrible power penalty kill, whereas Florida puts up a ton of shots. Again, high volume, high efficiency, tons of goals. I know it's a limited sample size, but again, I will reiterate, small sample sizes are just the beginnings of large sample sizes, and you want to get in at the beginning sometimes. And while the prices are still down, and I mean, that Florida one line is so freaking cheap. Gentlemen, I'll go to Hook first time. Am I way off base here, or are we attacking Detroit and making Troy cry again today?
Okay, so I don't think Detroit is the slam dunk stack or stack against team like they were last year. Replacing Jimmy Howard from Tommy Grice is a massive upgrade. And I think Grice is probably closer to a league average goalie, but Jimmy Howard was historically bad last season. I mean, he was averaging 4 goals allowed per game. That's terrible.
I hate Jimmy Howard. I hate Jimmy Howard.
I'm glad he's
all the hate.
I'm glad he's retired. Yeah,
I'm not. Are you kidding? No.
It just made it was easy to pin. I mean, everyone was doing it last year.
No, he has cost me so. He cost me a GPP, a big GPP. He was in a slam dunk matchup, and he gave up 5 stupid goals. This is like 8 years ago, and he did. And I hate him. I've never liked him since then. But I always use him in these great spots, and he never comes through. Screw Jimmy Howard. I hope you're listening. Retire. Stay retired. The league's better off without you. Blech. Sorry, you make it back to talking about today's game though, or tomorrow's game.
Yeah, you're good. I was thinking, there was no slam dunk spots for Jimmy Howard last year. I hope you never recommended that for anybody. I actually think. Okay, I'll start on the choice side because it'll be brief. I think Grice or Bernier are both valuable in net. I think they both can be playable tomorrow because I think they'll both see volume, and I don't think they're both capable for. Like we saw the other night with Binnington against Vegas. Like he faced 45 shots, gave up 4 goals. Still had a great score though. Like he got the win. I actually like kind of putting. I think it's interesting to put Detroit 1. I'll have to see what it is. They really need to put Mantha, Bertuzzi, and Larkin just on the line and say, "This is our line. We need to score this way." I do not want to see 3 separate lines with them all on different lines. If that's the case, I have no interest in Detroit. I will load up Florida. But I think Grice and Bernier have a good game. I love that Dylan Larkin if he gets him back, but he's been really taking over and driving this offense. I still don't think Florida's a good defensive team. I mean, they didn't Columbus doesn't score. Columbus just tries to get a goal and defend it until you accidentally score again, and then they have to go score a goal. They don't blow teams out. I think they played Nashville was their other game, and I think Nashville's kind of like what we've been talking about Ottawa. I think they're a bad shooting team. I'm not 100% sold on it yet, but I'm not seeing it. Like they're putting a lot of bad pucks on net. Like they're throwing it. They don't have elite shooting skills. But Larkin has to be the offense. So I have interest on that side. The Florida man, like you said, I think I was really worried because they lost a lot last season, losing Hoffman, Trocheck, and Dadonov. But Hornquist and Duclair have really stepped in. Florida, and you're playing Detroit, it's always worth it. I think Florida tends to get a little too much. I mean, I don't know. It's Detroit, so I think they get overowned. So I generally kind of fade those positions. But Hornquist, I'd probably look at Duclair or Hornquist for my cash options in this game. They both shoot, and they're just on elite lines. Huberdeau is always just a complete – he doesn't shoot enough for me. I just throw him in stacks. I like Verhey too. Huberdeau doesn't shoot. He's a facilitator. So I don't play him unless I'm stacking the line fully and just want mass correlation. Barkov's always fine. I don't think I'll end up there because I like the higher price, the even a little more expensive centers better, I think, because McKinnon and Matthews shoot a ton more than Barkov do. And that's where I focus when I'm paying the money. I want to pay for the floor. Like even McKinnon and Matthews didn't have bad days the other day, but they put 40 up like it was nothing, and they didn't do much. But I like Barkov.
Had I Ehlers, had I not put Ehlers in my cash core for tomorrow, and I still might do this, and I might not put a defender in my cash core. I strongly considered Hornquist for one of those cash core players. The amount of the skill level that he has, the amount of shots that he's taking, the opportunity he's going to have, and the fact that Detroit's not great. I understand they're better than last year. That's some Jimmy Howard bias right there. But is Hornquist an option, Sean, in your mind? I know Hook had mentioned it as a potential option. Are we better off moving down to a guy like Duclair? Should we get Florida it all together for cash, or are we sort of in the right path frame of mind to have one of these wings in a cash game lineup?
So, a couple of things. Florida, Hornquist is the same as Richie. He's not priced properly for his role, right? He's now starting to go. I mean, from the early season when he was he was min price. I think the start, wasn't he? Yeah, he was min price, and he was 30. Like his price, his price is almost getting him to the point where you can't play him. But against Detroit, that's not the case. He's $4,800. He's gonna get power play one time, and he's shooting. He's in a return value on that price. Detroit Yeah, Grice Bernier, that's fine. They're better than Howard, but Detroit's still not great. You're getting 2x, 3x, 4x on Hornquist's price. The guy that I really like from this game for Florida as a one-off for cash is Verhaeghe. He's getting, this is a classic example of a player getting an opportunity. With Tampa Bay, he was a third or fourth line player. Now he's a first line player with Florida, and look what he's doing, right? Florida, I mean, it was the same thing with Marchessault and Riley Smith and those guys. They went to Vegas and got an opportunity, and look what happened. Carter Verhaeghe is a good player, and he's showing it. And he's playing with Barkov and Duclair. That's not an accident that line is doing so well. Duclair is a great player as well.
I've always liked Duclair. Never had the opportunity.
Torts effect in Columbus. He went to Ottawa. I think he popped. I think he popped 30 in Ottawa last year. Good. Pretty close, right? For whatever reason, Ottawa. I don't know if the kid's an ass. I don't know. Something's going on there. But for me, tomorrow, Carter Verhaeghe makes a great cash play and an amazing one-off. I'll look towards a stack for Florida. They won't be my first stack in. Barkov at $6,900. He's priced in a range where I prefer other guys. I would drop down to Horvat, Barzal, Tavares, Pettersson, right? Or I would jump up. Now, because he's in that price range, he probably won't carry very much ownership. And against playing a guy against Detroit is never a bad play, right? That's never a bad idea. That's always a solid idea.
Does this game feel? Because this is the first stack I looked at for stacking, not as like my top high scoring stack, but as like the stack I can use pretty cheaply that should have a decent game. So I can use a Winnipeg one or a Boston one or something like that. So they're the first stack I looked at because of their price. They feel like late last season, early this season, Arizona in a way that like no one's going to be on them. They're super cheap for their top line and they're just a feisty group of players. Is that a bad comparison, or is that a decent comparison for people who have been playing Arizona, which we do quite a bit at Bankster? We've Sean. I think I'm afraid that they might become your favorite team. I'm worried for the Maple Leafs fandom with the way you talk up the Coyotes. But like, is Florida kind of feel like that to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a classic example, right? Verhaeghe and Duclair have bounced over. Like Verhaeghe never got a shot until this year, right? Now his first line minutes. Duclair his career is sort of on a precipice there, right? He's sort of like he's on his third team or fourth team, Columbus, Ottawa, Florida, maybe third team, fourth team. I mean, he did well in Ottawa, so he needs to do well. He needs to show like, hey, wait a minute, I'm an NHLer. He came out of junior, like he was a top prospect, and then Torts got a hold of him in Columbus, and that's whatever, Torts. Whatever, doesn't matter. For Florida, they're priced wrong against Detroit. I love Duclair. You want a nice little combo, a nice little cheap little combo for Haig and Yandel or Duclair Yandel, something like that. If you want exposure to that, to the top, not pay for it. I like that a lot. But Verhaeghe is going to probably be a one-off in my lineups. Probably like Boston one, and it'll be followed closely with like Verhaeghe and then I'm going to look to to Winnipeg too to kind of fill out a stack tomorrow.
If you had to rank these three for cash, is it Verhaeghe, then Duclair, then Hornquist, or rank the three? Because I think all three are cash viable. And again, I considered all three for the article. I ultimately decided on Ehlers. I'm still debating about that Ben position. I mean, Matthews is locked in for me, so I've considered. I mean, Hornquist is already in the pool that I'm starting to build. Florida one, I wasn't going to put in the pool necessarily simply because they're going to be one of the stacks that we're going to talk about, and I'll mention the GPP part. But like, should I really consider one of these guys for cash? And if so, how are you ranking them?
So for me, it goes Hornquist, Verhaeghe, Duclair. Hornquist just because of Verhaeghe because of price, and then Duclair because he's a little priced. He's sort of third there. I just like Verhaeghe's price.
I gotcha. Someone's got to be third.
I like. Hornquist. Hornquist is.
He's the least consistent shot. I mean, Hornquist has got his 3 to 5 shots, and Verhaeghe's had 3 and 4, and Duclair's had like 1 and then 6 and then 2 and then 4, and he's all over.
Yeah, I don't think Duclair is more of a GPP. So for me using Duclair tomorrow, it would be part of a Barkov for Higgs. It would be a full line stack. I don't see me using Duclair as a one off. I use as a part of a line stack there. Sure. And on the Detroit side, I'm not touching Larkin until Amanta's back with him. Until Blashill wakes up, Larkin without I don't know what's going to take for them. I don't know if Blashill needs to get fired. Toph, if you're watching, Troy, if you're watching, send an email, do what you need to do. But I'm not touching Larkin again until Manta's on his wing. The first game they play together, I will run that stack because those those kids together are dynamic. You know what? Detroit's not going to win anything. You might as well have one line that's going to do something for you because they're not doing anything right now.
When I saw all three run separate lines, I just logged off and took a little break for a while. I was like, what are we doing?
You know what? You could play Bobrovsky against Detroit. I hate Bobrovsky. I never use Bobrovsky. I might play him tomorrow against Detroit if they're all on separate lines again because Detroit can't score. That's
for the record. I would just like to say that Bankster DFS does not support the take that we should use Sergei Bobrovsky at $8,200 against anybody. There is no guarantee on that, and I will not refund your money on that. Sean knows. Listen,
100%. I will not attach myself to the Bobrovsky take. I'm out. No.
Don't do it in cash, folks. Do it in GP. You know what this means. If
this is water only.
If this live stream has any sort of correlation to our football live stream, and we're like, don't use Bobrovsky, blah, 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 Bobrovsky's going to have a 45 save shutout tomorrow because that's how things work on the live streams. If we're like, don't use someone, so maybe in a GPP he's viable. Please don't use him in cash. Yeah. But I get what you're saying, though. Like against Detroit, like if their lines are not right, then I do think that that's an opportunity to work that. All right, moving along a little bit. We're running long as usual. I wanted to highlight this game. It is a trash garbage game. I mean, it's two really bad offenses, but St. Louis is terrible on the power play. Anaheim's allowing just two goals a game. They're one of the best penalty kill units in the league. John Gibson is sitting at $6,900. He has 30 saves in all but one game. He has given up he's at the 187 goals against average. I know this shouldn't be a super high volume game, and St. Louis just doesn't take a ton of shots, but $6,900 in cash on what should be a really low scoring game. The odds I don't think are released yet. I'm going to load it up real quick to see because I've just got this feeling this is going to have a 5.0 total, which is low, and it's not released here for me. Of course, I live in Vegas. Why would I have totals for games? I just don't see this being a high scoring game. But Sean had mentioned this, and it's something I've that too. There is not a single player on St. Louis that's priced above $5,300. And if Ryan Miller were to start over Gibson, because Gibson's pretty good and Ryan Miller is pretty much not good. If Miller starts, St. Louis at $5,300, the top most expensive player, you can run some guys from the Blues on that Perron or a Shen or Schwartz or Paroko. Like there are guys you can run that can work. I like Koivu. He's really underpriced, by the way. He is a cash game guy for me at his price point. Of course, I didn't think to bring him up here. He's in the article. He's on our list, and he's a guy that we're going to talk about. But he's way underpriced at $3,800. He's getting 10 or more DK points in almost every single game this year. Skates on the second line, gets power play time. Even against a good defense, I think he's a guy that we can take a look at. Quick thoughts on this game, guys, because it's not a huge game. Is this guy useful? Is John Gibson a guy we should look at? Did I waste my time bringing up the slide? Hook, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm not. I mean, Kyrou's fine, but he's 3,800. I'm just gonna play for Hague. Why? I don't need to get. I'm not gonna do that. I would take the better especially as a one-off in cash. They're not even on my radar. I'm not going to stack St. Louis, so I don't see the point. It's just I'm not really on it. Gibson at 6,900.
It's okay to say I'm not taking this game. It's okay to say that. I won't get offended.
Yeah, I'm not stacking it. The only spot is Gibson. I think this game is a lot closer to a coin flip than because St. Louis is a playoff team, and I don't think they smoke a lot of teams. If Miller's in it, I might get a little interest in St. Louis too. Like we said, they can get peppered with shots, but this isn't my spot for me. I don't play St. Louis a lot or against them a lot. I just don't. I played Vegas the other night, but Vegas shoots on everybody. But this just doesn't seem like a really great spot to me. So
Sean, any thoughts about this game, or is this like a move to the next slide kind of game?
Gibson plays. I'm using him. Gibson doesn't play. I'm using St. Louis probably 2. Might even St. Louis 3 against Miller. They play back-to-back Saturday, Sunday. So Miller is going to get a start in one of these games for sure. So at some point this weekend, I'm going to be using St. Louis, and I'm going to be using John Gibson. It all depends on which game it's going to be. And that's about John Gibson at $6,900. I don't care if he's playing Team Canada. I'm going to use John Gibson at $6,900. He's one of the best goalies in the league. He's priced like he's going up against Toronto or Boston or
Oilers,
Colorado, Edmonton. Yeah, Edmonton. Edmonton sucks. Anyways, but St. Louis can't. No. I'm using Gibson at $6,900 all day long. Like I said, against anybody. I'll use Gibson against Toronto for $6,900. I'll use him against Colorado for $6,900 because he has 35 save shutout upside every time he starts.
Yep.
I considered him for actually my core, but I'll never put a goalie in my core. I'll never put a goalie in my core, but I considered it. I really did for a second. I just thought the price was far too cheap. When I started doing like, if he's $7,800, he's someone to look at, but like 69, I was like, that's
DK's
ridiculous.
Pricing algorithm is just all messed up. He's $7,500 tomorrow against that St. Louis for sure.
And there are a number of players that I actually feel are some decent one-off value plays. I'm going to ask you guys, and I kind of I'm throwing this at you kind of with very little prep on this. And this, you can find this chart, by the way, folks, in our article, Power Play, our daily Power Play article. It's our sub 4K one-off value plays. I am looking here. Is there anyone we talked about a few of these guys. Is there anyone from here that stands out to one of you guys, or is there a different sub 4K value guy that has, in your research, has come up, or are we not using anyone under 4K, which I know we are. Sean, is there anyone under from this list or another 4K or less guy that you're looking at that is a one-off kind of guy you're going to look at either cash or GPP?
Richie lock and load if he's on Power Play 1. Verhaeghe is for sure. You guys got me. You guys are doing it to me now. Verhaeghe. By the way,
Verhaeghe's not
Jordan
on
Kyrou.
I'm writing up the entire line. So for people who are just kind of looking at this, I'm writing up the entire Florida 1 line as a stack. So that's why they're not on the one-off, because I'm not one-offing them. I'm stacking them. So just so we're clear on that one. But you're using Verhaeghe as a one-off if he's not part of a stack. I understand that.
Yeah, for me. So, I mean, on the list you got here, I mean, I would use Richie as a one. I mean, Richie and Verhaeghe as 2 cheap one. I mean, you could probably have a pretty good looking lineup if you went off 2 wingers. You could pay up at defense. You could pay up at center. You run Gibson. You could run a pretty mean stack looking there, right? Kotkaniemi, I like him. I don't mind that. Simmons, min price, not bad. I don't mind min price there. But I love Colorado too again. Sod is 2.6. Like, that's really like, what is DK? Does DK even pay attention to hockey? Like, do they care? Like, there's no way Sod's 2.6. Burakovsky's 4. Like, did they know what they just did? Colorado 2 just put up 3 goals. I mean, Colorado scored 3. Like,
Burakovsky's been playing good all year.
DK, it's this, this is the key to this, is DK's pricing, because of the way the schedule is going to be off all year. So there's going to be guys like this to take advantage of every slate, and that's what at Bankster we'll find these guys for you, and we'll tell you this is what you need to do, and it's going to pay off big time.
Is there a name on there, Hook, that ticks your boxes, or is there someone else that you've been looking at under 4K that stands out?
Under 4K, I think Lafreniere is really interesting for the Rangers. They get back home. They're a better scoring team at home. They were last year, at least. And Pittsburgh doesn't look like to be either really capable of stopping anybody yet. And I'm going to keep betting against them not stopping people, because I have no reason to think they can stop people. And with that being said, Zibanejad at 6,800 might be my favorite cheap value under own play tomorrow against Pittsburgh. Like, 6,800 is about 15. He's right under the 8,000 or the $8,500 center studs. I think New York's just cheap tomorrow in general. I have it right here. Sorry.
Panarin cheap too.
Panarin 6,500. That's cheap. And I don't know exactly how the cheap Ryan Strome 4,100. That's cheap. That's a cheap game. New York's in a good spot tomorrow. That's too cheap for them too. On the Pittsburgh side, Malkin at 5,700. That's too cheap. That game is underpriced for what it could be tomorrow. It really is. Like I forgot to mention this when we talked a little bit earlier today, but that is I like that. Jason Zucker at 3,500 is a really nice kind of GPP one-off cheap play on the Pittsburgh side. But I think both those sides, 1 and 2, are very playable tomorrow, and they are underpriced. Because I'm not
very cool.
sold on either New York goalie's great yet, and I know Pittsburgh goalies aren't great, and I don't think either really defend that well. Sean,
I didn't put them in the slides for today, just because the offenses haven't been doing a ton. They've been disappointing a little bit. I just with such a big slate, for me it was like couldn't get a great read on the game, so I was a void. But if a lot of people aren't getting a great read and the matchups are good, well then there's your leverage, right? And that's right up your alley, Hook. I know.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, like you said, like you like the small samples because then they turn into big samples. But like, there's too much talent on these teams for them not to score. Like, it's going to change eventually. It might cost you a little bit on the way, but in GPP life, you're shooting for the big score, right? I mean, you're not going to win at min cashing every night. You need to take down a couple of that. I mean, that's where you really make money. So, yeah, I mean, that's a really good game environment to be on tomorrow, I think.
And I do think that will probably end up under-owned. A couple things we talk about these. We'll talk about them every week. Some cash game strategy. I didn't change too much from last week. If you watched the show, I did add, lower price defense. The defenders, really sneaky sab studs. You can find them every single slate on a big slate like this. There's a lot of guys who are going to get you 4 to 6 sabs for under $3,500, $3,600 as a defender. Again, we're not stacking too much in cash. 2 players from the team is going to work fine for you in a really strong game. We don't want to overdo it because if a goalie gets hot, your cash game is done. I love, and I've been doing kind of, Hook mentioned this last week, playing head-to-heads and really tracking who you're playing. And I've been doing that a little bit more. I've been tracking the head-to-heads, who I do really well against. I've been looking at their lineups, and a lot of the guys that I play head-to-head that I do well against are running like 4 and 5 man stacks against me. I love to see it. Some games it kills me. Like they'll score 112 points and I'll score 70 when 70 over on Yahoo. I like to play it. If you play 70 points, it's going to get you there a lot of the time, 80 points on a head-to-head. But I love to see when they stack because they're going to lose more often than not. So that's been really, really good. And that's a great strategy too, is to go and check your opponents and keep an eye on players you play well against and don't play guys you don't do well against. There's a guy specifically I don't do well against. I don't play him anymore. I play guys I do really well against. It's just, I like to make money. Defenders are great flex options for cash if you can, because they get the most ice time. Ice time gives you an opportunity to get you the points. Volume is money, but you don't have to spend up on a defender either. Again, volume for goalies as well. For me, goalies the last position I fill out in a lineup, unless I see a screaming value like Gibson, at which point I'm just going to lock him in and build the rest of my lineup around it. And again, we talked about using pricing inefficiencies and not sweating ownership. And then some GPP lineups, tips and tricks. We've been talking about these things a lot during this show. Power play, stacking those power plays. Sean mentioned it, that power plays are up this year. Penalties are up. So we need to spend more time focusing on who are the good power play units, who's getting power play ice time with guys that they don't normally skate with. Where can we take advantage of that? What are bad penalty killing units? If you can find a combination of a good power play team against a bad penalty killing team, there's money in that. And stacking across lines in a GPP. Hook talked about it earlier, taking 2 guys from one line and 2 guys from another that play together on the power play. You've now increased your opportunities for goals, assists, for a correlation within your lineups. I'm finding onslaught lineups are working a lot this year. Hook had mentioned it a few in our Slack chat a few weeks back. He's like, dude, run some onslaughts. 4, 5 players from the same line, from the same team. That's been working out well. You get a team like, if you've been running Winnipeg 2 onslaughts, you're great. I ran a Colorado 2 yesterday on Sean's recommendation, and it popped a GPP. That Dallas power play, I've been running 4 or 5 guys from the Dallas power play. That's been working out really well. So that's working well. Late games continue to carry low ownership. You guys are still seeing that, right? That the late games are carrying the lower ownership, the late starts.
It's dumb. Like Vancouver on the second day of that Ottawa game. I had a lot of them. Like I just messed up on. I've been cashed a couple times on Tuesday. That stack against Ottawa the second time they played, they were sub 5%. Like that's dumb. Like that's dumb. Like I don't even know why that happened. I mean, I get it was a 14-game slate, but that shouldn't be happening.
I think the bigger the slate, the better chance there is the late game is going to have a lower ownership, because we found last Saturday the 4-game slate, the late game had a decent amount of ownership because there was only 4 games. But tomorrow, 11-game slate, there's only one late game, like late game.
Yeah.
And so let's see
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg too, baby.
Yeah. I hope if they come in
we're going to have
5%, I'll be happy.
We're going to be super overweight on Winnipeg too. And that's another thing to look at. People tend to ignore power play 2 units. Like, don't. They're power play 2 or second units in general, not just power play units, but Winnipeg 2, Colorado 2, St. Louis 2. Not that they're a great unit. Vegas 2. Like, there's a lot of not that they're on that slate either, but there's a lot of second units that are super productive, especially if they start to run hot, like Colorado and Winnipeg have. Use those. And then it's cut off here a little bit at the bottom, but Sean had mentioned in Slack this morning that the North Division games, the Canada division, they're averaging almost a goal per game more than the other games, than the other divisions. So, use those teams like football. Find high-scoring games and play players from those games. Find a correlation and play players who correlate. Like, that part of fantasy shouldn't be as hard as it is. And so just sometimes it's just the easy stuff. Just do the easy thing and, find out what other people aren't doing or what people are doing and do the other thing. If people are stacking early games, find a late game that has a similar point projection, a total, and stack that. And if that early game doesn't hit, that late game does, you're making money. It's the concept doesn't change, right? The game theory doesn't change. Do what others aren't doing. Find underpriced guys, find correlation, stack players from from high scoring games. Like, doesn't change, doesn't matter the sport you're doing, like that basketball and football and hockey, like do that. We give you all those wonderful things here at Bankster DFS. We give you all these tips, these tricks. You keep hearing about our Slack chat and all of our writers and our team members and our members. Our members are amazing. Like, our members post so much content that, like, it's almost like its own subservice in a way, just the stuff the members post. And we have our own, obviously our own content, articles, player pool, Slack chat, $3.99 a week. We are always in Slack to talk to you guys. And that $3.99 a week covers everything, all the sports, all the articles, all the pools, all the chat. It's not per sport. It's not per medium. It's it's everything. You get it all for under $4 a week. You really can't get a better deal. And then you can find us on YouTube as well using my name, Doug Shane. Like, share, subscribe, click the notification icon so you know when we're going live, when we're posting videos. Gentlemen, any final thoughts, any 60-second or less final thoughts? Sean, I'll start with you. Anything we got for tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Saturday nights, I think, is the late hammer West Coast scenario thing is when that really comes in. Guys want it. So, let's face it, most guys, guys playing DFS, they got families married, they set their lineups. For the 7 o'clock games, they know they're not going to be able to check later, so they set what they know. So they're going to load up on the 7 o'clock games because they know they know the goalie, they know the starting lineups. Especially this year with COVID and everything else like that, it's got an NBA feel. So you don't be afraid to stack that last game. If you can be on, if you can't be on, you can't do it. Play lighter that day, right? Don't blow your bankroll in one night, right? Play lighter if you can adjust. Those late stacks, especially this year in NHL, are going to make you a lot of money, especially when you can adjust to news, especially with COVID, especially with everything else that's going on. It's, approach it like the NBA, load up on those late games, and you're going to win more than you're going to lose.
Hook, final thought from you?
Yeah, we're going to talk cash because that's what we focus on here. I've noticed, again, between the $5 and the $10, when you get in the double up contest, there's just a huge difference in points. Like we said Tuesday, there was a 20-point difference between the cash line, and we want more people. I've been registering at the $1, $2, and even $5 level just multiple times throughout the day. I try and hit contests all bigger than 62 people. I never played the 23 bands. That's just too variant on the scores. It's just you just got to look. You have a minute to look. I see how much we're on Slack. We have time. Just every hour or so, go look and try and get as many $1. They open a new one up as soon as they don't. $1, $3, $5. Try and keep them at 39 and above. I've noticed in the $12 single entry, the big one, the cash line is exactly the same as the cash line in double up. So it tells me people are playing the double up lineup in there. So be weirder in the single entry. Play it more aggressive. It's kind of where I've been going with that logic. And then on the I've been playing in the 3 maxes where I've been throwing my cash in. But I don't put a lot of GPP money in my cash. And yeah, that's how I've been doing it. And so, yeah, that sounds about right.
And for my final thought, I will go with the old Bankster adage of when in doubt, make another lineup. And I truly mean that. If you know, I was talking to my dad about this the other night about one of myself and making a lineup. And I was like, oh, I knew this guy and I just didn't want, and he's like, why didn't you make another lineup? What was the cost? I was like, I don't know. You get him for $1. You do $1 tournament, you know, and for $1, throw in the extra lineup. But you don't want to do it 50 times every single night. But if you've got this gut feeling and you're just like, I'm not sure between this player or that player, and you're playing smaller tournaments, particularly if you're playing smaller tournaments, make that extra lineup because you don't want to regret it. You don't want to say, oh, coulda, woulda, shoulda, and enter those cash game lineups in tournaments. If your cash game pops off, you don't want to just double your money. You want to 10 times, 20 times, 50 times your money. If you hit the nuts with your cash lineup, you want it in a tournament. I know it's harder to do that without correlation in NHL, but it is possible. If McDavid has a 50-point game, Matthews has a 50-point, like we've seen this happen this year, make sure you enter it. At least it's just a quarter, $1. Make sure you get some return on your money. And come see us, banksterdfs.com, $3.99 a week. We will talk to you. We will get in depth with your lineups. We'll just talk puck if you want to. And again, we'll talk Super Bowl. We'll talk baseball that's coming up. We're going to talk, oh my gosh, our NBA team is doing great. Getting through all the COVID stuff. NASCAR is back next month. PGA has been rolling for the last month. MMA every single week. Tay is putting out new articles for MMA. We've got Jeff with the EPL articles. Just everything. And so check us out, banksterdfs.com. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. Give my guys a follow at big number 55 at Hook Monster. I am at Bankster17. We will see you in Slack chat. We will see you